There's two things that people usually don't like to talk about, and that's politics and religion. Um, and I hate talking about religion almost as much as I hate talking about politics because they're such touchy issues, and people are always saying, especially in these two realms of human experience, that you are entitled to hold whatever opinions you want to hold, and nobody can really um, tell you you're wrong. And I mean, I'm not saying I disagree with that, but the political debate in this country is so low level, and um, it's in such a state of decay right now that if we don't start as a people to fix that issue, we're not going to even have the ability to have this kind of discourse anymore because you know we're going to be attacked again. Our economy is going to collapse. These devastating things are going to start happening to us because for too long we've been sticking our heads in a hole and just living our private lives without worrying about what's going on in the public sphere. And that's I mean, the American system was a grand experiment, and I think in the beginning it was one of the most amazing forms of democratic or republic government uh, that humankind was ever able to devise. And the Constitution is an amazing thing. But over 200 plus years of political and public um, development, we've really lost sight of what the Constitution was and what it was founded on, and the principles that it's based on. And I think there needs to be some kind of a movement to get back to these principles of the American experiment, because the American system is an experiment, and it's lasted for over 200 years, and we're at the point now where we're becoming kind of decadent, I think, because there is such this divide between public life and private life, and people. I mean, there's thing called identity politics, where people choose their means of public political expression based on what their private opinions and what their private experience of life is. And I think that is a very destructive way to go about being political, because when you do that, people divide up into their separate camps, their separate parties, and no communication takes place between them. And I think at the level of the politicians themselves, all this identity politics stuff is not real. That's their marketing campaign. That's how they sell themselves to us, to we people, because for the last 50 years or so, television has been the most powerful political tool in the history of civilization, because all of a sudden the message becomes more important than the reality. In other words, the way you convey what you stand for, your rhetoric, becomes more important than the substance and the action that you actually put forth. Because people sit at home and they watch on their screen all this bullshit about what all the different politicians stand for, and each politician tries to create an image that they try to sell. So they're selling a product to a consumer. And we sit idly by on our couches at home, and we just suck it all in, and we pick the candidate that makes us feel good. And this isn't going to work anymore. And we gotta get out of this destructive cycle, because the media right now is so manipulative and so. I mean, whether you watch Fox News, MSNBC, CNN, each one of those channels is trying to cater to a specific audience, to a specific kind of person. So Americans pick their news channel based on their place on the political spectrum, and then the news they get is just feeding them more proof of why their view is right. And so we're not really engaged in an open-minded political discussion anymore. We're just feeding ourselves what we want to hear, And that doesn't work when there's a whole world out there that has nothing to do with what you like to hear about it. I mean, there's a reality out there that has nothing to do with our opinions and our images and our self images and stuff. I mean, we've got to get away from this sort of this egotistical consumerist model that we can sit at home and have the products designed for us that we can just consume, whether it's a material good or a physical ideology or a political ideology. So, first of all, we got to turn off our fucking TVs because they're destroying this country. Literally, I mean, let's get our news from the internet because it's all there. The important video that we need to see from the TVs, from the debates, from interviews and stuff, well, it'll be posted on YouTube. You can get it there, free of all that spin and emotional overtones and stuff that these news anchors, they're not even news anchors. These are entertainers that they cover. They give coverage to everything, and I love that word, coverage, because literally they do. They cover over the reality. They give one interpretation, and then the audience accepts that interpretation as unquestionable. And the best, most recent example was the second Republican debate in South Carolina, put on by Fox News, obviously. And for the audience that they selected to be there, for the three anchors who were running the debate, to all the candidates on the stage besides Ron Paul, it is a foregone conclusion that America is not only the best country in the world, not only the most morally superior country, but that America can make no mistakes. And as soon as Ron Paul starts to suggest that we have to do a little self-inventory here, we have to reflect back on our own way of dealing with the rest of the world before we just go looking to attack others for retribution for what happened on 9/11. As soon as he says that, all of a sudden, every other candidate on the stage wants to get their say in to say, look, I'm a patriot, this guy's anti-American, and he shouldn't be allowed in any of the debates. And they're really trying to get him kicked out of the Republican debates now because he's so extreme. When in reality, if you did a public opinion poll on this, you would see, I think, that the majority of Americans agree with Ron Paul. But the way the media frames this debate is to push him off into this extreme position that he's not even really taking, but that the format of the way this is projected on the TV screen makes it seem as though he is really that far. And it was funny, after the debate, they did a cell phone poll to see who the people thought won the debate, and Ron Paul was in first place for most of the night until eventually, by the end of the voting, he was behind Mitt Romney by 1 percentage point or something. And Sean Hannity was really pissed off about that, and I really enjoyed watching that. But again, just turn off your fucking TVs. I hate watching Fox News. I hate CNN. I hate MSNBC. I mean, Keith Olbermann is decent, but still, we don't need that. We don't need to watch these channels, because when we watch them, we're just it's like masturbating. We're just feeding our own egos the type of news that we like to hear, the way we like to see the news conveyed. And you know what? We got to get over our own likes and dislikes at this point, because we have to deal with a real world that is really starting to become skeptical of the American experiment and is really starting to hate us. So much hatred now for America throughout the world. And if we just sit back and admire ourselves, we're not going to have a country for very long. At least not. We're not going to be a superpower for much longer. We got to wake up. We really got to wake up. So, and YouTube is gonna play an integral part in this. I think this is giving us the ability to communicate with one another, to get away from that spectator spectacle model that the media and the mainstream politics has really built for us to control us. We got to get out of that. We got to break this feedback loop and start engaging one another and start realizing that the people of this country aren't retarded. We're not idiots. We're just lazy, and we've got to wake up. It's time to wake up.